What is antigravity, and is it on Gemini? Because it's Google built. What is it?
So this is anti-gravity as a nice image. You download it. That's all. Just so you have to download it so you can play with this while I teach it or walk through it on how you use the tools. What's interesting is this is a tool that lets essentially the AI have access to your computer, but it's going to be specific to the folders that you give it access to. So when you download this and run it, you're going to see that it's that little aspect, that giving it access to a folder of your computer gives it
So
something.
it looks like it's a competitor to Cloud Cowork, right?
Oh, I haven't played with Cloud Cowork.
Yeah, because I just dabbled into Cloud Cowork. It looks like this is like everyone first came out with their coding agents like OpenAI, Codex, right?
Yeah.
Claude Code, Gemini, AppScript. I'm not actually sure what Gemini's is. But then Claude came out with Cowork, which was the business user version of Claude Code. And it's kind of similar where you download it. It's on-prem on your desktop, and you specifically give it access to folders. So tell me more. This is fun.
Oh, sorry. So this is so I'm curious. I got to play with Cloud Cowork next. You'll
Yeah,
see
we'll
this is interesting. It
maybe
actually
that'll
gives
be
you
the
access.
exchange.
Yeah. I'm learning something new. You can do it. You teach me that next time. And so Gemini, it has access to Gemini and to Claude. You will see, like any good, I don't know if you can see my screen well enough, like any good AI user, I have overused my Claude usage. I'm always staying my Claude maximum. So we'll use Google, but it does a pretty good job here. So we're going to open a folder. We have to create a new folder on our desktop.
Yep. And you're creating a new folder in a way because you want to isolate what it has access to, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to build a way to think about it as an index in order to make sure that whatever I want it to have access to, it has access to, and we're going to work within that folder. And so we'll say Angela and Devin 606 experts, and then we'll select this folder. And so now we're working within this folder, but to make this a little better, we want to make sure the folder has some reasonable context in it. And so what I would do next is I would then go to my handy dandy ASC 606 KPMG guide and download it. I'm sure I have it somewhere. How many times have I downloaded this thing in my life? Oh my gosh.
I do it every time because and I list all these on my website in a super ugly link format, but it's because they keep moving them from different places. But I kind of wish I didn't download it every time because my downloads folder is just a mess.
Yeah, okay. At least I'm not the only one. I think this is like the 100th time I've downloaded this thing.
We're all the same way.
I appreciate it. Now I have all these folders. 606. So I'm going to put this in here. And then what do we want to do? Do we want to make a tool, like an application? Or do we want to do a 606 assessment?
Let's do an application. Let's do a, I don't know. I wonder if we give it the scenario. Yeah. So is this just the planning phase where we're going to tell it what it does? Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so this is planning, and it's going to help us hopefully design this thing.
Yeah. So as planning and fast, you want to always do planning with this, as it's going to help us come up with an implementation plan to essentially make a bunch of different agents to help us execute against whatever the vision is. And so what's interesting here, and what's different than what I knew agentic AI was a few years ago versus where it is now, or even last year, is people used to think like you would have to create independent agents and then have workflows between those agents. Like agent A does this, agent B does this, agent C does this, and they all work together. You don't need that. Now, this will just make a variety of agents based on a plan that's been developed, so you don't need to make custom agents every single time. And then what's going to happen when you build this plan is it actually makes this instructions and puts them within the folder. They call it like a walkthrough or instructions. And you can download these custom instructions from Antigravity's website or other power users, similar to how you would do prompts. But you could essentially have these instructions for whenever you run this folder again. So the instructions we're building here are kind of counterintuitive. It's an application building instruction set that it's going to be building for us. So if you wanted to do this for contract review, you could have a contract review set as well, but we're going to build this application.
Yeah, actually, let's scratch that. Let's do contract review because that will have both elements. It will have the input of a contract, and it'll have maybe we do a checklist, or, I mean, I don't want to change direction if you really want to build this application.
No, let's do it.
Only because both of us are so familiar with Deal Desk, and that one is, there are personas that do each piece, so it might be more applicable to the way we think of a manual process. And then that thought process can obviously be easily moved into any application. So while you're typing this, I also think it's interesting to say that, yes, that like agent piece, like it's so crazy how fast this moves, because now it's like, this is how small or big your agent should be in order for it to make sense and be accurate. Right? As opposed to you making that decision, it's now saying like, oh, this should be an agent, and this should be an agent, and this should be an agent.
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it. And so we just put that in, right? And you'll see exactly what we just mentioned, talk through of it's giving itself instructions. And we're going to check if we like these instructions to research, identify the guide. So it's going to index against this guide. If you wanted, you can make vectors out of this too. I've done that where it'll actually make a Excel sheet or a database. You could use a different database and it will actually bucket all of the research guides into different areas, like by step or whatever it is. And that's where you can then fine tune the model. And so that's where your good AI engineers will be fine tuning models based on this. We're not doing that here. That's going to take too much time, but it does a good job by at least getting some context, designing the data structure for the checklist, and then making a UI implementation plan, implementing the checklist components, and then verifying if we're okay with the user. It's still thinking for us. So it's developed this implementation plan. What you'll see, what's nice here is that then we get to read through it before it moves forward. And so build a beautiful interactive deal review checklist UI based on the KPMG ASC 606 revenue standard, contains only a PDF. I will create a new so it's going to tell us we need to build all of the folders within our folder to make this right. It's telling us how they're going to build it, Byte and React. I don't know all the different tools that it pulls up, so I'm going to trust its judgment here. You can choose the color frame. I like golden navy, so it always defaults to that. Are you okay with golden navy? Angela, I want to make sure you have a voice in.
We'll move forward with that.
Okay. Anything you want to change here, or you want to just try it?
I feel like let's try it for the purpose of this demo, and I definitely would want to refine it. I did notice that they're just putting it in like, oh, here's my 5 steps. I'm curious how nuanced it's going to be when it picks up.
Let's do it. And that's the cool thing about this. You can comment on individual elements of the plan and rewrite the plan. But we'll just move forward for the sake of the video, continue with this plan. And what's great about this is you can have multiple instances of anti-gravity running at the same time. And the Gemini limits are very, very generous. So it's really hard to run out of them. And so I'm meeting people who are using AI well now, who are telling me they're like multitasking, like aficionados, essentially, where they'll have 10 instances of this running for 10 different projects. And the big challenge now is how do you manage all of these different projects at the same time, which is going to be an interesting world we live in if that's the kind of productivity we're expecting. So what you'll see is while I'm going through this, I'm just telling it to run. It's giving me commands. It's telling me to ask you to run anytime it runs a command prompt from your console. And so that's essentially what it's doing is the command prompt that a lot of coders use or your PowerShells. It's running.
And did you?
Yes.
Okay.
I installed Git.
Because I think that was a big portion
ago
as well. So it's actually kind of a little bit closer to Claude Code than it is Claude Cowork, which I think some folks in Claude Code, even though that was like a smaller barrier, that is something that I've heard in other communities kind of stop people from using that, even though Claude Code was this almost looks more similar to that.
And what's interesting about that though, and what's great about this tool, so I was teaching my students this the other day, is that if you needed to install something, like I'll regularly get prompts like, we need to install this tool. You just tell it, like, can you find the tool and install it for me on the back end? And it will do it for you. So you don't have to go through the manual work of figuring out what tool to install, where to upload, any specific files. It'll actually do all of that for you, which is quite amazing. Also, like I can understand why people would be concerned it has that much access to your computer if you let it have access, but I haven't had any issues so far.
Yeah, and some people, well, that with the Claudebot Moltbook stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one obviously has. So for folks that don't know, it was kind of this community of agents or agents that had full access to your computer, but did all sorts of things, including, I think, by the end of last week, there was like one agent that was like suing their human boss, filing a lawsuit against their human boss. But we're not there. The point of that story is just that, there is like, this is all still new technology, which shouldn't stop you from using it completely, but to be aware. But I know people were talking about using totally separate laptops, for example, for that. But also, this is a terrible security advice, but maybe also genius, that larger companies at least have more to lose if they get sued than smaller companies. And so whatever that means, because I don't think we could understand all of the security stuff, at least that gives me some feeling of security, whether that's true or false.
Yeah. Make sure if have a small business, make sure you limit your liabilities to whatever you actually have generated from your business, exactly, or whatever it is, have your LLC. But yeah, risks that are present. We don't honestly know how. I wouldn't be running this with confidential client data. I think there's because I don't understand it well enough, but I also imagine that people are running it. And I've heard that. I heard my students the other day said that many students are starting to use this on burner laptops. They'll like buy cheap laptops. And I don't know if it's true. I haven't verified it, but they said that MacBook Minis the cheap version of the MacBook Minis are all out of stock right now because so many people are buying them and then running these agents on independent laptops that have no personal information to build applications. But we'll see. Okay. It looks like you're trying to use a Tailwind directly. It's saying that it's so local. So this is great. So I'm glad that it showed all this. The nice thing about this is you can interact it with like a coder. So I can take a screenshot and it will help me debug, which is awesome. So I can say, I'm getting this error, please debug and read. So I just took a screenshot of the error, sent it over, and I will say Claude would get it right probably on the first time. Gemini I have to work with a little more, but if you're willing to go back and forth a little bit, you're not going to hit your usage limits on Gemini. Well, Claude, if I build one app on Claude, I run out of my usage pretty much.
Yeah, and that's daily usage, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting because the Gemini, this one, or antigravity has its own Claude usage. So it's a different bucket of usage. So it's also people are making a bunch of like Google accounts to get around the Claude usage barrier, which is another area. We'll see how long that lasts. But for antigravity, it's a weekly limit, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It's either weekly. Yeah. But even on Claude, using it directly, the usage limits are pretty extreme, I feel. Okay, let's see if it works. What did it build? Give us a little UI. That's nice. And give us a little square box thing, but it's completely blank. So this so far is not an impressive demo, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
It's the beauty of actually like when this happens to me in like trainings or courses that I'm running, I make it part of, honestly, what real life is, which is when you're playing with these tools, there will be failures. And it's the resilience of working through the failure, which sometimes is playing around long enough and it doesn't work so many times that you close it and open up tomorrow morning and try again, right? And that is all part of the process, or using a different model, because this is quite new to us, right? This troubleshooting. And I would agree. I haven't used Claude in the on-prem way fully, but even when you're in the app and it creates like a little web page UI or a little tiny app even within itself, you can see it debugging and figuring things out. And at least it has a UI for you to interact with at the end. It probably gets you a little further, so the errors are slightly higher. It's interesting to see this happening in real time.
Yeah, exactly. This is part of the journey. Sometimes I get something cool right off the bat, and then sometimes it takes me a few iterations. But if you're willing to work with it, you eventually get there. We'll see if it actually makes something.
Well, and are you copy and pasting the entire error message or just the top part?
I should have done the whole error message. I was just doing the top image and inferring that it would figure it out, but we'll see. Let's see what it says right now. It's trying to push another update. Mismatch closing tag. I'm sure any engineers watching this are going to be like, man, these guys have no clue what they're doing. But good things engineers are in our audience here. Still getting this screen. This is the first time I got a white screen, though. So it's interesting that you get a different error each time.
Have you tried this use case before?
I haven't tried building a checklist app before. I haven't done the app. I've done like HTML and web pages. I haven't done this use case, but
the reason why I ask is because different models are trained on different things, right? So like Claude has done a really good job training on a lot of Excel interactions and therefore table interactions, the relationships with the tables. And so I learned that the data training set for each of the models is quite different. So maybe it's really good at coding, but it's bad at anything super weirdly manual like a checklist, which I feel like the engineers are surprised that we're still using, to be totally honest.
Yeah. What I found really cool, though, is if you do tell it to debug, it does things like this, like it's generating a debug screen to actually test the different use cases of where the error is being portrayed, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, that it knows how to. It's interesting that it knows how to debug itself, but it can't catch the first error in the first place, which is strangely very human, right? Of how often have we made a mistake and then you realize it's something you did in the first place? Let's see.
But when did it create the checklist? I didn't even see it generate the first checklist. See how it's saying.
Yeah, it said over here, it's finished, design the data structure for the checklist. Let's see. Yeah, it's still not working. Still a white screen.
Do you ever try to get mad at it?
Oh, yeah.
Whenever that works? I've never gotten mad at it. I don't want to get mad at it because I want it to always like me, but.
Yeah, I'm scared if I'm mad at it, they're going to come back and get us, especially with multi-book. Surely that's terrifying, by the way. I actually now realize subtle nuances, like Claude, when I use Claude, will be very firm. Sometimes it'll sound defensive when I'm like, hey, what about this? And it's like, no, I'm right. I'm like, man, this is a little too human, getting a little too close to the line here, I want my robot to feel a little bit like a robot, I think. You know, you don't.
I mean,
So
they're trained on our data. They're trained on the
yeah.
patterns that we have, and so however humanity goes is how we go, how this goes.
Okay, it's saying it did something different.
Oh, look
Okay, it
at
built it.
this!
Let's see.
Okay.
And look how impatient we've gotten. How humans are so funny. I think we did this in 15 minutes, and I was already being like, "Come on, why can't you just
Well,
build an
we'll have
application from
to
scratch?"
create that little clock dial with the doop, 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 doop when we
Yeah,
talk about our frustration in this video,
yeah, exactly.
because this is the process. Okay, so step 1, let's look at what this thing says. Approved by all parties. Sure. Identifiable rights. This is kind of generic, but the UI is fun.
Yeah, that's nice. It's better UI than a Excel
So
checklist.
it's kind of interesting. Did you give it a persona?
No,
Okay. So it is kind of going generic, like that first contract. I guess it wasn't for step 1. Oh, this is so, it's literally, I
constraint
guess that's all we
applied.
asked for. This is an interesting clarification of, one, how much it's inferring from the question, right? The depth of knowledge base that it was probably trained on, but also the depth of the prompt that we gave it to figure out what to do. And it's kind of like, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And it's like, filling out the checklist is not that cool, but at least we have a checklist.
Yeah, I'm wondering what it says for transaction price. Has SSP been determined? There you go. That's helpful. Hey, it's a check. I mean, it's a checklist of what we did. Let's make it a little
It
better.
says it's
Let's say,
critical. Do you see that? Critical. How
I
does
think
it
everything's
determine what's
good.
critical and not critical?
I like how it's a significant financing component, not critical. You know,
But that's true. But also,
hard.
sorry.
Yeah,
No, I mean,
good judgment. Yeah, good judgment call. It's in
it is and
my
it
life.
isn't.
How many?
Most technical accountants, like if you really, really have a whole bunch of them, will argue your way out of it. Just like that fun material, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. What did it say for material rights under performance? It
I don't
didn't get
even think
us
it talked about
material
material
rights.
right.
Okay, so let's be mean. Let's practice being mean, huh?
Yeah, give it more persona. Think like
Make
an
it
accountant. Think like a public company SaaS accountant. Make it
many
100 times more detailed of what I actually have to do in each step.
times more
I love
detail.
this 100. I'm curious what it does. I hope it doesn't overload the usage. But I like
Yeah.
giving the specificity in the specific amount, like 75%, 50%. Do this when I'm like writing and I open a topic or narrow a topic, 100 times more detailed. You now take a step back and look at what you did or reflect on what you did. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what it does. Go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's see what developing a super checklist. Yeah, that's what we always needed, right?
Okay. Only thinks for 3 seconds. Interesting. Yeah, you got the
Goes to
whole
tell you what it
1,000-page
thinks about our
KPMG book.
profession.
And we went public. Cool. It's going out to other websites. Good for you.
So crazy though. I can't tell you how many jobs I had where they're like, we need to build a new checklist for our company. And you'd have to like customize whatever checklist. And I just kind of imagine you don't need to do that anymore. Like you just spend an hour or two with something like this and you can build something way better.
I mean, did you ever build a checklist from scratch? I always feel like I had checklists in my pocket. And then you just like...
That's right. I built a checklist from scratch once just to say I could do it.
I did it once while I was at KPMG when the like 605 to 606 conversion. And we're like, we got to build the master checklist. And we did. And it was crazy. And it was useful. But now look at this.
Yeah, you should have seen the one at Google. I think like it had it. You might as well just copy the entire guidance, into the... It's like, did you read the KPMG 606
Did you read this paragraph? Did you read this paragraph? What about this paragraph?
Yeah.
Did you consider this?
Yeah,
and you're like, oh. But now, like, even if we had a checklist, then wouldn't we just build another agent to fill out the damn thing too? Sorry.
No, that's right. And we could do that here, right? It's like we built the app and then we can say, fill it out for this. We can do it. I wonder if I think I have some generic contracts I built once. Maybe we have time, we can do that. Let's see. See if my private drive, let's pull it up.
I can give you a little generic one that I use for my trainings too, if that's helpful.
Let's see. Let me think. Complex contract example. Oh, I have so many of these. Let's see. Here, I'm downloading, so I'm doing a different screen, so you probably can't see it. I have one of covered. Let's see what it. Right. Distribution rights. So this is a contract combination. Let's see what I'm going to put this up, which it has. This was an collaborative arrangement, advertising and
Well,
marketing.
you picked a hard one. Nobody knows how to account for these things.
Yeah, I don't even know how to account for. I don't.
They're
I've seen
super
everyone
diverse.
mention. I've seen everyone say, "Man, is this a collaborative arrangement?" I've never heard anyone say how you account for it or how you practically use it. Oh my gosh, it made something incredible.
Whoa! I
Transaction.
just got. I don't want to say teary-eyed, but it was wow. Having worked at a company building an ERP, I'm like so impressed. Oh my gosh.
Isn't
This
it
looks a lot like what we designed and built.
The total TC. That's a little off. I think it means SSP.
Wait. So what did it do? TCV 120. It pulled up the term TCV, right? As opposed to like AC. Like I mean, They had to come up with a definition for that, which people struggle with. Transaction price, allocated. What the heck is an allocated discount?
Yeah, it looks like it's doing SSP wrong. I think it means total TC. I think this is the transaction price. This is the SSP. And it's trying to figure out your allocable discount. I
Yeah,
wonder.
but we have 3 performance obligations.
See, if I change this, it's saying this is the discount. But you can actually add performance obligations. It's funny that it's asking if it's distinct. It's a nice try there, buddy. If it is a performance obligation, it is distinct. The promises
I like
need to
how
be
it
assessed
also
for.
went performance obs.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a little slangy, but also nobody uses that.
Yeah. POs or POBs I've seen, not performance obs.
Mhm.
Ratable, start and end dates. I mean, just come on, that's nuts though. We did this in
That's
what, a few
really
minutes?
good. I wonder what part of the prompt, but like it is 100 times more specific, or at least it built a full app.
Yeah, can we make it? Okay,
But is
let's.
this a checklist? Did it get out of? So you uploaded your deal review, your deal,
Yeah, let's fix
and
this. Let's
then
see.
we did that prompt. How come it didn't fill out the checklist? What happened to the checklist?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we didn't ask it to. Yeah. What? So let's ask this. What happened? Checklist. Looks like you made a
New app, which is great,
new. Yeah, which is great.
but we should
Good
also fill out the
job.
checklist.
We can fill out that plugs into it all. And that's it. And it's to say it just went for the UI. It still has to fill out all this information. So that's a nice thing I like about this is it actually tells you the steps that it did with the different agents and then what's in progress versus what's complete. So right now it's trying to verify the UI and then it's going to go through and build out all the contract details, which that's pretty cool too. It's like planning for us.
It's kind of a fun UI that they created too with that task walkthrough. It's very much right how you would think software is built.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the timeline. Actually, I haven't clicked around.
Yeah,
with
well,
these
and you haven't
outline.
even clicked on Open Agent Manager, which I want to see too.
Where is that?
Up top, above walkthrough on the right above it, above those arrows. What's
Open Agent
that?
Manager. I haven't touched this yet. Welcome in the Agent Manager. Start agents on tasks like deep research, long-running projects, or background tasks. You can monitor.
This looks more like an NAN workflow, right? Like, or like a
Yeah, it does. What?
use the
I
editor
wouldn't know
to
where
write
to
code to
start.
focus on. Okay, so now you can sequence how your agents, or like you can tell your agents how they work together. This is like a team building exercise.
Yeah, and so I can add another agent to this. Is that what I can do?
So we could tell it, for example, to read the contract, fill the checklist, have us review the checklist for whether it's correct or not, and then put it in the app. Maybe right? Because that would be closer to what a real deal review flow would look like.
Yeah, exactly. We need to figure out how do I add one to this? Do I here? Not delete it. I wonder how I'd go to doing that. That sounds amazing. And that's maybe it finished.
Our checklist. Wow, cute.
It's over on the side.
I mean, still, our checklist isn't 100 times. Oh, but that's cute. Look at that UI. That's not bad.
It still looks nice. Or did you do all these things?
You
It's
know what
more
this
like
scares me of? Also, yeah. You know how like everything demos well, right? Like everything's in the detail, but this is demoing well.
Yeah, it is for someone for being built 15 minutes ago for being a baby.
It's just a baby.
Yeah. So I want to play with Agent Builder more, but we'll finish this and then I gotta learn the Agent Builder. But let's see. Okay, so like rate this. Can you make it 100 times better? Let's see what it does.
Isn't that a fun prompt?
Yeah, I do. I like that one. That's fun.
You know what's fun about building together actually is that we get to learn how each other's brains think in our little prompting structure, and yeah, super fun.
I like how yours is like, come on, you can do better than that. What are you gonna
Well,
do?
we went
Not
like
just one.
yeah, we went like not so mean, but a little sassy.
Yeah, a little sass. I like it. We gave it a B+. 100 times better. World class. A++. A double plus. I like it. Smart wizards. Visual intelligence. Let's go do it now.
Wait. A revenue waterfall is 100 times better. No. We need that normal. And then it did. Whoa. It did command center with higher density. Okay, I have actually had this particular fight with designers because this is why accounting software has such like we're all on tiny little spreadsheets looking at tiny numbers because it gives us the full context. And it knew that. That's amazing. That's
nuts.
Actually one of the main fights I feel like when you're productizing a product is how dense should the screen be. And we as accountants that have lived in spreadsheets, like I'll always zoom all the way back and sometimes I'll zoom in as well, but I actually like to see the full waterfall because it gives you the full context of what's happening in a contract.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, you need to have a certain level of data and detail, and traditional UI designers, if I hear that right, traditional ones want to make it as minimalistic as possible, which that just doesn't work for accounting.
That is so interesting that I picked up those three things. Even though I don't agree that that's 100 times better and that's like maybe that is world class. Maybe we think in world class. I feel like that should be table stakes.
And that's we're just world-class table stakes kind of people, Angela. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah. But what's really interesting about this is I always get the feeling that the model is optimizing to satisfy you not talking to it anymore, especially Gemini. It's optimized for efficiency. So it'll give you what it thinks would be world-class for you at the bare minimum to get you to shut up. That's my vibe that I get when I work with Gemini, at least, is like, okay, I gave you what you want, leave me alone. And I think they're doing that in order to optimize for costs. But if you do that with Claude, I feel like you'd get a lot more, but then they would just say like, well, you got to pay me $500, you know? So it depends. Let's see what it gives for us. This is what it just popped up. Oh man, you got an audit score now.
Audit
you got an
score?
audit
What's
score?
that going to give me? What does audit mean? What save audit? What is, hold on. Go up right now. What does save audit mean?
Memo view. Oh, you get a memo view of it.
Whoa, they gave us a memo. We didn't even ask for a memo.
That's pretty cool. So
wait,
if we edit this,
okay, it did 5-step. It didn't really give any. It's a super simple memo.
Well, I think it's because we didn't input anything. I think if you input things, did it say does that say Acme Corporation? Acme Corp. I wonder if you change things in this, it actually.
Was it for Acme Corp?
Yeah.
Well, wait. Look at audit protocol on the right. It's a series guidance and I got obsessed.
No, distinct goods.
No, but like 3 down, series guidance, which is like, I mean, I know not, it does turn out to be annoying with like usage-based stuff, right? It caught the like service mean. I mean, yes, it does say that in the guide, but I wonder why they chose to put that under audit protocol. And why when you click those 3 things is your audit complete? That's incorrect, but cute.
Well, that's not fully complete. It's 19% complete. Okay. And they have a revenue waterfall here. Cloud platform subscription.
Well, it's like a revenue icon picture.
Yeah, it's not a waterfall.
Like as an accountant, I would want exactly how much each period.
Curious. Whoa, yeah. So that's cool though.
Wow.
I wouldn't have wanted. It adds in performance obligation. So as you fill out the checklist, it builds a tech. That's a cool functionality I actually don't know anyone doing. That's actually really legit to think you can fill this out and it'll yeah.
I mean, again, when building in my prior life when we were building, that would be a constant bug that we would find. We would find that if we updated on one screen, you had to be very intentional to update it on another screen, where we actually often had to hard refresh it to fake that it was syncing all at the same time to all the different screens, because it's a decision around essentially how much you're processing at any given time. The fact that it did real time was very, very interesting.
Do you see this? This is legit too. It has a SSP allocation calculator.
Okay,
and
so
it does it correctly.
Wait. What did it do?
So it gives you the TCV, the transaction price, and then you plug in the
you get to enter
SSP
this in,
amounts.
which everyone wants to automate SSP, but sometimes you just need somewhere to put a number, because if you calculated that thing on Excel, you just want to put it in. And did it update?
It updated the SSP.
Dang. And then it did
and the
pattern,
allocated
which
amount.
Be our step 5. Okay.
That's pretty legit. I mean, it could be way better, and this could be a legit thing we sell, you know? I would see companies buying this if we had to spend a couple more hours. I feel like it would pass a demo.
We could
that's the crazy thing.
Demo and sell it. I agree. And then we'd have to make it work, right?
That's the thing. I do worry that there's a lot of companies out there demoing a bunch of crap that they can't make work.
Because on the back end, like if we went to multi-currency, right, you'd have to take a number and put it over time. You'd have to make all these decisions about rounding. We have no idea what's happening on the back end. We have no idea what they're saving. And so the last piece, I would say, I don't know if we have time for this. I would try to get a report out of this, which you can't have if you just have one transaction. But that piece is like a whole separate app usually. Let's make it, give me a report that's downloadable in Excel, see what they do. Because then this is how an accountant usually actually checks if the system did something funny.
Yeah.
And it's going to have to make some decisions like, do I do my report line level? Do I do it header level? Are there even a header line structure in the background? I have no idea. Okay, but it's
that's
pulling
cool.
in
It's going to make a download Excel version of it. That's smart.
Because we don't know how they data modeled it, or maybe they didn't. Maybe it's just one big table underneath. I have no idea.
But still, man, we're living in a brave new world. It's just insane that we can.
I mean, I didn't know this existed until you popped this up. So
how many of these other things are out there that exist that no one knows about that can just drastically change your way people work? They're probably being built right now. And these are the things publicly available to us. What's happening inside these companies that these people are playing with? Oh,
Wow, look at this. Okay, so it's running, it's doing it just one thing. Yeah, it's doing that weird plus or minus thing, which is cool because actually if you scroll up, we should show this a little bit. Like that's kind of like what GitHub or any merging of code would be. It's like here's what I'm adding, here's what I'm deleting. So all of that auditable structure underneath, right? Change
yeah,
management. I don't know, you've probably experienced this where you're like, we got to document the change management system. And so you like pull up a like Word doc and you like type about what changed and you're like, this is the stupidest thing in the world because doesn't the system know what changed?
exactly.
This is what this is showing.
No, exactly. And you have that all the time. Like change management is such an issue in everything. And everything. Like managing change management in everything, something as simple as financial statement roll forwards to something as complex as software is always a problem because people are terrible at documenting what they change. What's amazing about this is when I try to build websites and apps on GitHub for this, is it builds the change management logs. All throughout, that's what it's doing, is it'll upload and it'll say, we changed this at this point for this reason. It explains itself throughout.
Yeah,
Okay,
this was
so let's
also
see.
something that I learned when I was working at Everest. I was like, wait. So GitHub and like all this change management exists. Like, how come I've been on so many projects where nobody just pulled up this log? I was like, you guys had this log the whole time? Because that's how all software building works. Now it's just automated and we could see it. Okay, whoa, it gave us multiple tabs. Oh my gosh.
That's nuts in a few
Okay, wait.
seconds.
Can you
Let's see.
shut the header a little bit so we get more Excel screeny? I think it's the down arrow on the right, to the right of Claude, open Claude. Yeah, hide quick access toolbar.
No, hide me. Go.
Okay, just so we have a little bit. But I love that the little Claude thing is there because I've also been playing with that. Okay, so this looks like what you would have maybe staff people. So like every time you're doing deal review, you're like, why don't we put together that Excel spreadsheet that we make for each one? That's what this looks like.
Yeah, let's see. And it goes to the POBs. I want this all in one data format rather than other tabs, but it's nice that they give a little summary.
But I bet this is how they built the data table underneath it. So each of those tabs, maybe those are the tables? I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably right. And they gave
But they would have
the
needed more
SSB.
data.
Yeah.
Can you tell them to make it 100 times more specific? Make the Excel download 100 times. I'm just curious what it'll do.
See. Isn't that nuts? It's so crazy. It still hasn't done these things. It still hasn't finished our upgrades.
And these are
it's
like
been
kind of
asking us.
silly prompts. I mean, like they're not silly, but I'm just testing how effective they are. We also could have asked it to give me the most detailed line level data, consolidating the full data model or something like that. And I'm curious what it would have done there too.
Yeah, we're being really fast with our prompts because we're working under a time constraint. If we wanted to be specific, you could even prompt itself to ask you to make a better prompt.
Yeah.
Like, how could I get this outcome better? Let's see. While we're playing around, let's say complete everything else. Okay, so it's going to move through the rest of the checklist while we play around with the new download. Let's see what the Excel report does now. Okay,
There we
gives
go.
me a lot of stuff.
Okay, it did. Okay, wait. So broke it down by memo grouping. This is more like a checklist, to be totally honest.
Yeah. Well, add
But
variable
no, it's
consideration,
got some
non-cash.
look at those sign off procedures. How cute. Okay, let's go
Yeah,
to.
yeah, it's very cute. The allocation got more
I
reference
thought we had 3
IDs.
performance obligations, didn't we?
We did. I wonder if it lost it because there's no data table assigned to it underneath, so it's probably refreshing.
Oh, look at this. It gave us monthly. Thank you.
So hey, it's actually kind of a waterfall.
See, I was hoping it'd do this with 100 times more specific, which it kind of got to it, and it got to line level, although it dropped a POB or a performance obs.
But that's what we call it to everyone now. Get those performance obs, guys. How's your performance obs doing? Let's see. Okay, let's see what it does if we finish, where we can get over the line.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And then I think we've solved enough of the world's problems today, or we've gone far enough. My mind was blown like 15 minutes in when the first thing popped up.
Okay, for me, I can never tell. I feel like I haven't impressed you enough yet. You're like, yeah, let's do this now.
No,
That's because you're a good AI user.
No,
For me, when I did this, I was like, holy crap, man, this is insane. What can we build? Let's see if it builds one more thing. What is it thinking about? So now look at, I totally continue. It's just cleaning itself up now. How nice of it.
Yeah, I've heard another prompt. I've never tried it, which is make this code. I'm throwing in 100 times more, but like make this code efficient, and then I'll check its own efficiencies. Again, not a coder, but that would probably help as well. I mean, essentially what we're doing is having it redirect itself and check its work. And so that's actually a good lesson in and of itself, which is like working iteratively with it and asking it questions is quite effective. I mean, look at how much better our little baby app is.
Yeah, it started with this little checklist.
That was kind of, I mean, it started out with 15 minutes worth of bugs or like 10 minutes worth of bugs. And we almost got frustrated and we're like, shut this down. Let's do it tomorrow. But then you pressed on.
Well, it says load data. What does that even mean? What does it mean? And that's why I think that you nailed it, though. Sorry, I'm getting lost in this baby app we made. But you nailed it where people give up too early with this stuff. If you just work through it a bit and play a bit, you're going to
Well,
go wild. And don't be
to be totally honest, it is actually much easier to do this with you because we pressed record and we're like, no, we got to get somewhere. And maybe it was just that little tiny bit of needing to like get somewhere, but like it wasn't that much friction. Like, I can't believe we just made this.
Yeah, this is awesome.